welcome back to Patient Win Insider. I'm Nick Moen. I'm joined by Farron James, Director of Operations at Rise Dental Practices in Wisconsin. Farron's been with Rise for nearly a decade, helping grow from a single $2 million a year office to multi-location group with 9 doctors, robust systems, and a patient-first philosophy. Today, we're digging into what it takes to scale without losing culture, how to build teams that thrive, and where the future of group practice is heading. So let's get into it. Thanks for coming on, Farron.
Hey, thanks, Nick. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my experiences and hopefully helps some of those out there take something
Yeah.
away and grow themselves.
Well, heck yeah. I mean, going from 1 to 4 practices in 2 years, is that what you've accomplished so far?
Yeah, that was our initial growth. We just went full in. It was like, okay, we're going for it and we're going now. I've been fortunate to work for a really great boss with a huge entrepreneurial spirit. So he has definitely led us and all of us to that growth mindset, which I think is a huge component of the success we've had as a company for sure. But he, practiced at the chair, single doctor. That's how we all started. I started at the front desk checking patients in and in that role. And we just kept going after it. We got really big into systems and how we can best serve the patients better and give them a different experience of the dentist. And that kind of led our passion to no, we got to do this for more people. Like, how do we get growing? So yeah, it started as adding associates into the practice and then quickly turned into buying acquisitions. And then once we did one, it was like, okay, that was really fun. We loved the energy behind it and the excitement of taking what we've already built in our practice and then expanding it there. So yeah, we definitely did it very quick. That growth happened very quick. Within 2 years, we were up to 4. And yeah, there were plenty of hardships along the way and learning opportunities. But from that point, I was able to grow, of course, in my own role. So for a while, held the director of marketing position as we grew into that larger thing, and our leadership and executive team, we call it, I guess now, grew, and now hold the title of director of operations and leadership trainer of our team. So definitely been a really fun journey to be a part of.
Yeah, well, and I love the story going from front desk, the first face patients see coming into the practice and starting that whole
Yeah.
patient experience into director of operations. I know I have had a couple other people that have started the front desk on the podcast, and I love hearing that story because, you can't neglect how important the front desk is. Like, you're keeping the ship going in the right direction. So I'm curious, what was the biggest turning point or the biggest quality that you feel like you contributed in the journey of being able to scale into 4 practices?
It's interesting. So, like I said, my boss, Win Steckbauer, he is a huge grower of people himself and had always, from the beginning of working, was just inspiring to our team. There's that personal growth that he enabled. He would come in on outside of patient hours and just hold personal growth conversations for anybody who wanted to show up, which I think was a really great mindset for me just in general at life, and made it exciting to kind of accept the idea oh no, I can do way more than front desk, and open up that belief, cut down the glass ceiling. You can do more than what you're doing currently. And that's any role, right? So it kind of just became this thing that it was almost fueled by excitement and energy of what we were doing in the practice. And as we grew, of course, roles grew as well. We never had marketing, we didn't have an HR, we didn't have these positions, but the growth of our company kind of opened that up as well. And I was like, I think I can do marketing. Have no experience doing it, but I was committed to learning it. So it was like, no, I can do it. And he was able to send me to a couple of courses, dental marketing focused. And from there, we kind of evolved into what it is. I think it's that mindset of just wanting to grow. You have to seek out the opportunities and take it on yourself. Obviously, no one's going to just hand it to you and you don't have to work for it, right? So
Yeah. Well, what is the kind of the why behind the encouraging? Because you need somebody and you need a leader in charge to, and it seems like you had such a great place to incubate and get nurtured and come into this role where you're able to, I mean, 4 practices in 2 years is a great accomplishment. Like what
For
do you
sure.
think the why is? Like what is there kind of a why behind it?
Absolutely. I think a huge component, and I think like I look back at going from 1 to 4 and the struggles we had just with keeping that excitement of like, obviously, I had the practicing owner, entrepreneur, who I was directly working with. Now our employees they don't work with him day to day, right? Like, because he's not chairside anymore. So I think that transition was definitely one that we had to figure out because, right, like my loyalty and excitement to work for him, knowing I've had the experience and the time working for him and seeing how passionate he is about the practice and what he's trying to do as a company, like the mission behind who we are. Like I've had that direct connection and not everybody has. So I think that's definitely a growth thing we've learned the hard way in a lot of ways. Like that culture doesn't always stick, even though your core group can kind of live it, right? You're like, why don't they feel the same way we do? But
Yeah.
there's like that detachment of, oh yeah, like this business is embodies the owner. And when you kind of take that out, you have to think about how to replace it. We've built this huge learning and development component for all of our team members. And it's really like talking about the mission, living the mission daily, like incorporating that into, okay, that why, right? Like you got to relate it to the why, but what we're here for, like what each thing you do relates back to. And I think that's really been a big driver for everybody because people want to grow. Everybody wants the opportunity to grow. And whether you have an opportunity to excel into like a new role or you can just master and get really great at the one you're in, I think having that growth laid out for everybody and connecting it back to like, and this is our mission and here's what you do to contribute to it has made a huge shift in the culture. And when the culture's good and people are motivated by their own personal growth, it's like, well, everything else on the business side is way easier, you know?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to push people to follow systems because they're excited to do it and they get why they're doing it.
Yeah.
So I think
Well,
that's
so
probably the biggest component of the growth that we
yeah.
lost and then got back.
Well, yeah, and I want to hear about kind of losing and getting because everyone's had that experience, the growing pains. Like, can you
Yeah,
share some examples of like major challenges that you had to overcome while scaling?
for sure. I think there's a couple of them, right? Like we grew with acquisitions and especially the first one was like, okay, doctor was going to retire. The team was aware of that. The doctor was going to work with us for a while. But even in that transition, we didn't handle it the best. I think we did the best we thought we could. But we had all of these systems and this way of doing things. And we just expected, everybody's going to be looking at us and thinking, okay, that's cool. Let's do it. We want to be part two. And holy cow, people hate change. We all do.
Yeah.
So taking that step, like that was probably the biggest thing we didn't anticipate is the hesitancy to change, even though they knew it was going to happen. Like obviously in a buyout of a practice, like changes are going to be made. They're not going to stay the same. So knowing that we're the friend and not the enemy and like, hey, we're all in this together, I think that transition is really hard. To be honest, I don't know that any of them were super successful in keeping everybody that was there. And I think that's okay too. Like every practice is going to have a different fit for what the culture is and what the vibe is, right? So what's understandable. But I think that component of, okay, we have this acquisition and we want it to look like this, and understanding taking it from like here to here is going to take a lot longer than you'd like it to be in your head. But the patience of implementing systems and processes of how you'd like the clinical flow to be, or appointment flow, or how you like people talking to patients, right? Like all of those things do have to take a lot longer than you'd like them to be successful.
Well, and how do you kind of give them a sense of like how are you nurturing the teams during this transition? And like how do you give them a sense of purpose or create a sense of ownership for, the assistants, associates and new front desk staff that you're taking over?
Initially, gosh, it's been a few years since we've actually had an acquisition. I'm like, okay, what did we do initially? But it's a lot of in office, like getting to know the people and them getting to know us first and foremost. You kind of got to lay that out there. Like, no one's going to lead or follow you if they don't know you, right? So, really getting that personal connection and just, hey, I'm here and know that I'm supporting you. I'm here to answer your questions. I've got you. We're going to get this. I know it's a lot. And just the empathy of knowing it's a lot for them too. Like we all forget how challenging it is to learn a new thing. Unless you've started a new job recently, there's just so much, and the mental drain and tax it does on something that you normally could just walk into and do without thinking at all. So really just stepping it back, explaining the whole process of what it's going to look like from start to finish. Like, here's our game plan. Let me know how you like things. What do you need? We also do try to get our company or all of the offices together at
Yeah.
least 3 times a year for like close the offices, get everybody together. Yes, we calibrate on processes, revisit our mission, kind of tie everything back, but we do leave time for just fun, like networking, get to know each other. And I think that part has really helped unify the mission and what we're all about as a company, really. Getting people together from different offices, whether it's like our new hire trainings, we do those growth immersions. So every person comes with a small group and they just spend the day. It's personal development focused. We put clinical or whatever your role is in the office, we kind of set it aside and we say, hey, today's about you. We're going to grow together. And I do feel like those components have really accelerated our, decrease in turnover, excitement for new projects and change and adaptation to, that constant evolution of trying to be better and serve our patients better.
Yeah. Well, and looking at, I mean, the culture across practices, obviously you have to have it cohesive, but in your role as managing operations, like what are some of the biggest bottlenecks that you're running into while running multiple four practices?
Yeah. So well, I think adherence to processes when you're not able to because I'm a hybrid, so I'm not in office. I can't, check in and hold people accountable as much as I'd like. So there is figuring out how can we still have that check-in. So we've created this monthly breakdown of systems where, okay, we go in and I touch base with our front office leads, with our assistant leads, hygienists, our doctors. We get together and we run through like all of the systems to make sure that we are following them. We have open discussions about where they're seeing obstacles or maybe aren't following completely because it's not working for them. And I think we've built that environment of psychological safety where they are good with giving feedback, like, yeah, we're not doing it, and here's why. And especially at our large practice with now 5 doctors, that growth has been really quick. And going from a team that's of 6 people versus 26 people, although you can have the same processes in place, you do run into things differently at that larger level that you don't anticipate because, and it's small in that 6-person practice. you can kind of sugarcoat or like work around the issues easier than you can when it's at that larger scale. So there's definitely the check-in of look at these systems, what's working, especially with automation and the technology and everything else. There's a lot to compete with in your own brain, like, and everything's shiny and flashy, and it's like, ooh, this will make it easier, this will make it better, this will make it faster. And it's really figuring out which of those things is actually beneficial for you, because some of them just aren't. And it kind of has to align with what your practice is looking to do. Because it's very easy to get in the trap of like, I want this third party vendor to do this thing, and here we are with this, and we can automate this by going with this. And then at the end of the day, you look back at your P&L and you're like, where's all of our money going?
Yeah.
Because you have 8,000, things you're trying to simplify by having outsourced.
Well, is there one tool or system that you're seeing, success with that, has been kind
Sure.
of a game changer that you'd like to talk about?
What we've been utilizing, we transitioned all of our practices to Open Dental
Okay.
and Flex as like our two, like, that's kind of our big things that we've been using. So I guess my experience comes from using them in the last 3 years. I think Flex has really been developing and expanding the services they have. I'm all about as many things that I'd like to simplify or automate, having it in from one source, because it's just user friendly. Like, the teams are able to function it because they know how the system operates. They don't have to go into, this to do this thing, this to do this thing. So we've really liked it. Can't say that I've had a system as robust that I've utilized. It's been a lot of others that were fantastic in their own way. And of course, if you have a company that's focused in on one area, they're likely going to be able to do it a little bit better than one who's doing 8 things. But it's all about like what works best and what you kind of need, where your needs are at. So we've
Yeah.
found for us that's been a great tool. And as I mentioned, I feel like over the last year and a half, they've expanded the automated components that they are offering,
Yeah.
and we found them very useful.
Good. Yeah. So saving time and keeping it easier on the staff then, right?
For
Well,
sure. And there's always this like balance of, okay, the human aspect is important and we never want to lose that, because that's like, you can't, I don't know, we don't want to be the practice that has robots. I think that's awesome
yeah.
for the places that do, but that's not part of who we want to be. So there is that balance of, okay, and even team needs, like, how can we balance that team need and where does that kind of trade off?
Well, and how are you sharing, using these tools and systems, how are you sharing this mission that you have with the practices with potential patients, with the communities, in order to know that, hey, look, Rise Dental's here. Here's our, we have a practice for you. Like, how are you connecting with them?
Yeah, so a lot of our new patient generation does come from internal. We do a lot of fun things. I think we really focus in on the experience that they have in office, because I think you can, I mean, simply said, you can market all day and put all of your money into it. But if the experience that patients are having when they walk through the door isn't exceeding expectations, your ROI is never going to be where you want it. So we do spend a lot of time really focused in on training how the appointment, like patient touch points in the appointment, should work. Because we know consistency has been really important and valuable for patients as well. I think for any of us, we always use that analogy of like going to a restaurant and you have a really great server and the experience is just awesome. And you go back excited to share that experience with friends, and you have a server who's maybe not having a great day and likes to share that with you, and it takes forever to get your order, and it's just like, me, I that didn't do it for me. So
Yeah.
that same thing is, we start there, and that's really where we spend a lot of our time, is making sure that what that patient is experiencing, our credo is L3, like we treat each other and our patients with L3. So we want to make sure we're loving on them, so when they come in, we're treating them like family. We're actually listening to their needs and hearing what they value, or what is an obstacle, or how we can help them get to where they want to be on their pace and understanding. And then we lift them up, like, no, we've got this. I think there's so much shame around needing dental treatment that patients often don't open up and share those things. So really taking the time to say, hey, you know what? We've got you. You're here. You've made that choice, and we're going to get here together. So they feel better about coming and relieved when they walk out the door, versus head down, like, oh, shame. I know I need all this treatment now. And they kind of made me feel really bad about it. So it's that. It's just really doing that for each and every patient that can make them feel differently, right? And then it's gonna be like, whoa, I had this great experience and went here. And then I think the marketing beyond that just settles in easily, because you have these Google reviews and people can look at it and get confirmation, like, yes, this place looks like the place I want to be. And I think there's always that authenticity of human beings, and not a facade of, like, I don't know, stuffy or educate. I don't know, like preachy. I'm going to tell you exactly
Yeah.
what you need to do and brush your teeth. Like, we got to be humans, because that's how people
Yeah.
connect. So showing that through your online presence and everything else is like, when everything else kind of matches, and it's becomes your brand, and you can show your mission through your videos and pictures, and everything kind of matches. If your Google reviews are saying exactly what your website is saying, I think that's a really good testament of living by what you're trying to, the mission you're trying to provide.
Well, and it seems like that's really consistent across the four practices, but are you seeing a difference in patient expectations going from the one larger practice versus the smaller ones?
There's definitely an environment difference. I mean, I'm sitting in our new office that's absolutely beautiful, right? Like, we've put a lot of time and money into this practice being a very, like, wow environment for the community as well. Like, we've got a community space that we open up for people to use and everything. But we also have practices that are, a four-op, maybe not in the best part of town, visually very different. However, if we had a patient, and we have had lots of transfers for people moving or whatever it may be, but they do have that same experience from processes and people at each one. So I think that's a really cool thing. Even, we have had employees who have filled in at other offices or wanted to experience what it's like working at one, and they went in for the day, and they can easily just jump in and do it, because everybody's been onboarded and trained and had that same exposure to what we're about. So I think that's kind of a cool, proud thing for me to be able to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, setting up consistent systems that are reproducible and working, and people are happy both in the office and the patients that come in as well is huge. I mean, that sounds like success to me, right?
For
That
sure.
what
Yeah.
is what so do you what does the next 5 years look like? Like, kind of what are the goals to generate more success or continue
Yeah.
to succeed for Rise Dental practices?
We so our entrepreneur CEO, he is very quick start. So he's like a dreamer, like, and it changes. I can't say that what we were set out to be 2 years ago is even our same vision for 5 years than it is today. So
Sure.
a little bit difficult to say. Currently, what we're focused on right now is is not expanding into more practices, but really growing the ones that we have. We'd love to get our offices that are maybe a single or two doctor practice into a larger space and just maximize what we have going currently. At our large office, we just onboarded two doctors in the last month, which is amazing. So it's really just settling in and going after, like going after being able to serve more people and change that experience for them.
What would be the domino for growth there? Marketing or people or systems or financing or?
Well, I think it's a dance amongst them all. You'd be silly to say that new patients don't kind of fuel that growth for your practice with new treatment and everything else that it provides. But I think the key component to everything, like having the opportunity to get that growth, really does come from the people. I think the people that are in the practice can make the biggest impact on growth because they're the ones that are providing the experience that people will remember. They're not going to always remember the technology, which of course is kind of like everybody wants and needs that at this point. And clinically, yeah, it makes your job way easier. But the people being motivated and passionate and really sparked with that excitement to follow really great processes provides that growth naturally, which makes you have to do less marketing or spend less on marketing. Unless you're on a really big ramp up or a startup or something like that, obviously. But I think the core has to be people being excited for who they're working for, what they're working for, the systems, the culture, everything kind of just tumbleweeds into this excitement for people wanting to grow and get better and go after things. Like it's going to be really hard to get your team excited for a production goal for the year if they hate their job.
Yeah.
So I think it's always about efficiency too and figuring out the best ways to make it easier, quicker, easier for the patients and the team, and those components too.
Well, if you could give one piece of advice to a single location dentist that was looking to expand, what would it be?
What would it be? I would say have a really clear vision of who you are, who you want your practice, like what you want that to embody. And I think once you have that, getting the rest of the team excited about that and you is going to be like the first step. I think after that, it's knowing that things are going to take time, especially with like if you're the dreamer or the one that's going after it, it's all in your head and you've got it clear as day, right? Like you know where you're going. So it's really making sure everybody else is on that journey with you and understands why you want to do it. And I think take it slow and be adaptable. Things aren't always going to work like you thought they would. I mean, things work one way in one town and city and demographic shift 2 hours away, even 40 minutes away. Your marketing has to change. So being adaptable and not being stuck to like the thing that's got you where you are, but knowing evolution and adaptability is going to really push you forward.
Yeah, I love that. Well, is there anything you want to plug at the end before we wrap up here?
I can't say I have anything on the top of my head that I can think of. I do appreciate the opportunity to share some of my experiences and happy to be support to anybody who may have questions or want to know what we're doing or ask how things are working. Definitely available for that.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Farron. I really appreciate you
Absolutely.
taking the time.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.